We high.
All right, I think we're ready to rock and roll.
Let's do it.
All right. What's up, everybody? I'm Rashid, as you know, from Ready to Love Season 3. And welcome to my brand new podcast, Ages and Stages, Life, Love, Relationships, and all that other. I'm glad you guys for tuning in. We are in Houston, Texas. We're at Sleek Chocolatier near the Galleria right here at 5868 Westheimer Avenue. So we are allowing in-person guests to come in. Ladies, men, y'all come in, y'all have questions. We're going to take some questions from the audience as well. And we're going to get started. This is our first one, so y'all bear with us. We're going to have a little fun, and we're just going to keep the conversation going. I got a good friend of mine, and I think you guys recognize who this is. This has become one of my brothers, man, and my castmate from Ready to Love Season 3, Mr. Edwin Henderson.
What's going on, beautiful people? I appreciate you for having me here, man.
No problem, man. Thank you for coming on.
It's a beautiful thing, man. I'm ready to rock and roll.
I had to have you, bro. You know that. I had to have
Hey, you know what?
I had to have you first because, we kind of, everybody got along at the show.
Yeah, sure.
And the brothers, man, the guys, we all formed like a bond, a brotherhood, things like that, which was super dope. There was never any beef or any issues.
Yeah.
But, you naturally kind of gravitate towards
Right.
people just naturally. I mean, you kind of hit it off, and we've been cool. And, man, I've been seeing all the things you've been doing post-show.
Yeah.
And we've been rooting each other on, man. We've had a little friendly competition, man. And but I'm happy that you're able to join. And happy to talk to Ready to Love's fan favorite, man.
Hey, dude, you know what? I'm going to tell you like this. I'm very appreciative of you for having me here, man. Like you said, man, it's just that friendly competition of everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Man. I'm proud of everything you got going on yourself. And, we definitely hit it off, back even when the show was being recorded.
Yeah.
You come out of the room, sit
Yeah.
there and lounge around. We chop it up.
man.
We talk about the day and how things went, man. And so,
Talk about all this stuff. Good, bad, or different.
Definitely, man. So one of the things is that I got from it, man, is that we all had a great connection, man. But there were times that we just connected.
Right.
We just come by the room, man, and we chop it up and share some things, man. So I appreciate you having me here today.
Yeah. I see they got to take care of.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
If I did mention, we're at Sleek Chocolatier here in Houston, and they've got phenomenal.
We got goodies all
kinds of stuff. We got chocolates. We got all kinds of. I've got gourmet coffee. I'm feeling sophisticated. I might even put my pinky up today.
I was about to say the same thing, dude.
Right.
It ain't right until you put that pinky up.
Right. You got to put the pinky up. You got to put the pinky on.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. So, man, I just wanted, like I said, to start this podcast, man. I've just been hearing from a lot of the fans and viewers from the show. A lot of things that that I said and others have said kind of resonated, and we just kind of want to keep the conversation going. Just talk about, like I said, life, love, relationships, and all the other
Yeah.
Because with all that, man, life, love, relationships comes a lot of other things as well.
Sure.
And a lot of times we don't focus on some of those things. So I just want to again have the conversation. For those of you that have emailed your questions in, we're definitely going to read some of those questions. I encourage you to do that. And then we're also going to be answering some questions that you guys are making in comments on the YouTube. So we thank you guys for tuning in, and we're just going to keep it going. So let's talk about now, what have you done right now since the show? We're about 3 weeks or almost a month removed, right?
Yeah.
And now that you got your Fridays back,
Yeah.
kind of how do you feel now that you're not like, because I know for me, every Friday I felt like I was on.
Yeah.
I'm always on. Like
Yeah.
even if I'm working throughout the course of the day, I know in the back of my mind, I got to get somewhere at a certain time. I got to try to live tweet, try to interact. How do you feel now that everything's kind of dissipated as far as the show is concerned?
Dude, I'm going to tell you like this. I honestly am relieved.
Right.
It's almost like if there's a weight that's taken off your shoulder because you knew that every single Friday something was going to be going on. You knew your phone was going to be going haywire when the show aired.
Yeah.
And so it's just a sense of relief. I mean, I'm appreciative of the journey that we took, but at the same time, it's just kind of like, I can take a breath. And, I'm just looking forward to the things that are coming after that. But now, honestly, I never really had my Fridays to begin with.
Right. Because you're always
I was always working.
Right.
Most of the time on Friday, there were certain times, even when the show first aired, I was working in an event that was maybe about 10 minutes away from a watch party. And so I had my crew going, and I said, man, I told these people I was going to show up to this event. So I got everything going, and then I ran out, and then I showed up, made my presence, and came back and then finished up the job. But, that was one of the things that I wanted to do is I wanted to connect with the cast. I wanted to be out and make sure that, people got a chance to really experience who we are outside of the show.
Yeah.
But now, man, it's that sense of relief. But now, at the same time, it's still like, dang, okay, well, what do we do on Fridays now? Like everybody's messaging me like, man, we miss y'all. We miss tuning in because, you knew you had those Fridays coming along where you could just, you knew people were going to be showing love, and you also going to have people that were going to be hating at the same time.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
at the end of the day, man, it's all love, and I'm just much appreciative of it.
Well, yeah, to your point, man, that's one of the reasons I want to do this podcast, man, is, like I said, to continue the conversation, because I'm hearing from a lot of people as well. We miss you guys.
Yeah.
We miss seeing you. We miss, because a lot of people, they said that was my Friday night date. Even if you were a single person watching at home, I heard from a lot of guys saying something. Man, I was enjoying that Friday night with my lady, my wife, my girl. We would sit back, we have our red wine, our popcorn, and enjoy it.
You'd be surprised, dude, how many guys I had stop me. Like, I honestly, literally, I forget or whatever that show, first of all, was worldwide.
Yes.
But to know that so many men would be like, man, I watched this with my girl, I watched this with my wife. I had mad respect for it because what I got from it is that they were watching it. Yeah, some may have been watching entertainment, but a lot of times they were sharing with me like, hey, we had dialogue, we had conversations.
Yeah,
at the end of the show, based off of certain things that may have taken place. And so that was the greatest thing that I ever got, because it's like, dude, relationships are being, bonded, like the colorism topics that came up and all that. Everybody was talking about something.
Yeah.
So I was greatly appreciative.
You said something right there. I'm gonna come back to it, but as far as being recognized and taking, most of the pictures and stuff that I've taken is with a guy to send back to his girl. Like, dude, man, she's gonna be crazy.
That's been the majority of the ones I've taken too.
I'm like, yo, and he sent back, send it to his wife and his girl.
Yeah.
She's gonna be so excited. So it's been crazy. But to go back to what you said, as far as not really realizing that this is a worldwide show.
Yeah, for
sure. I would get inbox and DMs from people in Amsterdam. Shout out to Amsterdam.
Amsterdam definitely showed
Ghana, the UK, it just blew my mind.
Yeah.
And then, so on top of that, tell me about the first time that you were recognized, either during the show while it was still filming or after.
Dude, I could say I was actually at HEB.
Okay.
I was in the produce section, and we're all masked up first of all. So we're masked up. I got a H-Town Astros cap fitted on. With my boy, we were picking up some produce. Next thing you know, all of a sudden I hear like a lady screaming. I'm thinking to myself, what is this lady screaming about? So she starts pointing.
Right.
I'm trying to play it off like it's not me. I know why she's kind of screaming. And she's like, it's you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, it's you. And then I took it off. And she was like, yeah, it's really you. So it just became one of those moments like, this really is like a real thing. And so it just kept happening. I was at the airport coming from LA. And I'm standing there. I got my fedora on. I got a mask on. But a part of my hair is sticking out. So, so my hair gave it away.
Mark right there.
Yeah, exactly, man. So it's been in various different places. Hilton Americas. I had a group of 15 ladies. I told myself, don't make eye contact with them. A part of me felt like she was going to recognize me. So as I walked out, she kind of looked, and then I said, don't turn around. But my dumb tail turns around.
You can feel that, though.
You can feel it.
When they're about to recognize you.
And that's exactly what it was.
I'm with you there. Yeah, I'll give you mine. So it's real, it caught me off guard because that's when I first realized. This was maybe 3 to 4 weeks in, right? And what happened was, so I'd been somewhere else, in the public, right? And I had a hat on, and that's when I was still recovering from my breakout, right? So I was always having a hat on. I was loving the fact I could wear a mask and have a hat on, right? So I'm coming home, and this is my mom. I was still helping my mom out after her surgery. I'm coming home, and I needed to get something from the post office, some stamps. Old folks say, give me a book of stamps. So the post office is close to the house. I let my guard down, right? Nobody had a hat on, shades, everything. Didn't have a hat. I'm just went in. I'll have my mask on. I walk in. I'm not in there 2 minutes. And sure enough, this middle-aged black woman, she's like, you on teenage? You want that show? And I was like, yes, ma'am, I am. It's a pleasure to meet you. And, I took a picture, gave her a hug, and then she went out. My daughter's in the car. I'm going to go get. So she goes out and tells her daughter comes in, and I take a picture with the daughter. But to your point, going back to that, you don't really realize it because this is new to us. We haven't been on TV before. We're not stars. We're not celebrities. We just came back to Houston. You and I are from here, and just got back into our normal element. So it's a little different. It's getting used to.
It is.
So going forward, let me ask you this: your son's older than mine. How old is your son?
14.
Okay. So how does he feel about this? Dad's a celebrity now. Yes, he recognized. He knows.
So when he's out with me, the funny thing is he's like, oh, here we go again. It's kind of like the Excel, like, golly.
Yeah.
So friends of mine asking like, what do you think about your dad? He was like, well, he's just daddy to me, but everybody else, so it literally, and it's crazy how it happens when I'm with him.
Yeah.
And so at the grocery store, while we're doing whatever we're doing, he's like, oh, he kind of looks like, oh, here we go again.
Right.
Here we go again. But at the same time, it's much respect. The biggest thing that I got from it, when I cooked with Tommy and his crew the last night that I was there, the biggest thing that he said was, he said, dude, you got to understand that you still are in the category of celebrity. You may not necessarily be at that top of that totem pole, but you're still, people still view you as a celebrity. So he said, don't be an asshole. When I thought about it, what he was saying, it's like, I know how I am as a person, and I know that I try to show love to everybody. Like, honestly, the people that inbox me, I know I won't be able to respond to everybody.
We've talked about that.
We
you and I
have
talked about that because me and you are very similar. I think that's why we hit it off. Very similar as far as trying to reach out and at least tap a like or just say like or something, some type of correspondence respond, because I never, ever, ever, ever want to be considered an asshole.
That's exactly it, man. So every time I do a cooking live, I tell people, I say, look, you may have sent me a message, but I promise you, at some point in time, it may be a year from now, but at some point in time, I'm going to try to respond. I want to show love back, because I feel like, especially because a lot of the stuff that happens between you and I, our stories resonating with a lot of people.
For sure.
And so people are actually reaching out to us, just saying, hey, I have a lot of men actually reaching out saying, dude, I appreciate you for being vulnerable. I appreciate you being authentic. And so I want to be able to tap back in and say, you know what, I appreciate you for reaching out, for sharing with me, how you got to this point because of something that you saw on the show.
Likewise, man, I've heard a lot of positive feedback that way with the transparency and the open and honest conversation that both of us had. And I think when that happens, it's inevitable. It's going to resonate through the television, right? So I think that's a good thing, because a lot of things I'm hearing is it's refreshing to those who are at home, because a lot of times us as black men, we get depicted in certain lights. And that was one of the reasons that, I don't know about you, I'll ask you this, that was one of the reasons that I was okay with doing the show, because what I didn't want to do is have my character looked at in a bad light or negative light. So I didn't want to be associated with any type of reality show where I'm diving across car hoods, trying to fight somebody, throwing this, getting in wrestling match and cussing each other. I didn't want to do so. What was important to me when it was presented to me, Will Packer, top-notch A-list producer in my book, and Oprah, we all know, Mother Oprah. And so that was really important to me. And I think, obviously all of us wish, there's certain things that you wish would have said or wouldn't have said. That's natural. Anytime I think you do reality television. But I think OWN pulled it off well to where it was able to highlight positive men and women, because the thing to me what was so dope, all of us had our passions and interests and talents in all different fields of endeavor, right? Which was so cool to me. I love seeing powerful black women. And, all these women were smart, educated, beautiful. So talk about how you felt now and before you went in, and then kind of an overall grand scheme of things, and how you feel about the whole experience and how you were looked at on the whole show.
I would say, just to be straight up honest with you, initially when I started looking at a lot of the comments that people started sharing in regards to me, because one of the things that I was very open with was about my PTSD as an Army veteran. And when I started looking at the comments, it made me feel a certain kind of way, because I felt personally like, man, you know what, I wish the network would have shown the other, portion or the other side of me that showed the laugh and the joking and the playing around, doing the South Side, just having a good time. And I felt like initially, it wasn't shown the right way. But then when I looked at it again, I said, you know what? This actually is a good thing, because right now, of course, I'm getting those or whatever that are looking at the PTSD and this and that. Oh, well, he really needs help. Okay, well, you could say that. But then I have those that are very supportive of the fact that I actually was vocal and that I actually, opened up about it. So now the ones that are following me that are very supportive, they see the personality when I do the cooking live. It's like I had several people say to me, "Hey, where was that personality on the show?"
That person.
I said the personality was there the whole time. The network chose not to show it, but at the same time, I appreciate that, because now it allows me to use what I opened up about on the show as a platform to now educate people about
100%.
PTSD. And I'm able to talk about, okay, you know what, there are a lot of veterans, or not even just veterans, there are a lot of people that may not have ever served in the military that have PTSD that probably don't recognize that they have it, or they recognize they have it, they are very, just kind of like recluse and just keep it to themselves and not free to be able to share it. And so that's my thing, is I'm using this now as an opportunity to be able to get people to open up and talk about it.
I think, to your point, there's a new awakening and awareness for PTSD.
Sure.
And like you said, it doesn't have to be military based.
Exactly.
A lot of times, especially, unfortunately, sometimes in the black community, in certain places you grew up, where you're hearing gunshots and you're hearing ambulance and police cars all night. That's your almost your ringtone.
Sure.
There's certain traumas that are involved in that. Just everyday life just growing up, being an African American or being someone of another race.
Yeah.
You can still have PTSD or a form of it, just everyday life experiences. And I'm glad that people like Szn3 and other people writing books about it, people are talking about, doesn't necessarily have to be based upon that.
Correct.
We all have some sort of trauma.
I guarantee you, this whole last year, with this COVID thing going on right here, there's a lot of people. Right? There are a lot of people that are even, elderly people, or just even young, that have been trapped in, that don't recognize that they have it because of the fact of everything that's been going on. So the biggest thing is the acknowledgement of what you're dealing with and being vocal and just being open and saying, you know what, I need help, because I noticed before I actually got diagnosed with it, I knew something was wrong.
Right.
And then that's when I started going to be able to find and seek help, and started doing certain things that were able to be a release for me. You know what I mean? Just getting out to the community, serving, being able to help the homeless. So those were therapeutic to me in nature.
Yeah.
But other people may have other avenues that they have
100%.
to tap into. So I'm glad, like, you posed certain questions, even while we were there, that to me, I wish that they showed clips of it, but there were certain parts that I felt like maybe they'll show it later, on a later date or something. But it was great that they were able to get certain things in regards to like what we talked about, certain topics that happen currently at this time. So
Because I like to ask questions, because that's just kind of my background. I like to ask questions and kind of figure out what makes people tick.
Yeah.
So then I know, how that we can communicate. And I think we can communicate better that way. Now, that's a learned behavior for me, but it's important. I like to know what's deeper than the surface, whether if it's someone I'm romantically interested in or somebody, just a homeboy, just a friend. Because I think, especially as men, sometimes we just, it's like this. Another buddy of mine's like, we tough macho, right? Sure. So like, hey man, how you doing? Man, it's a rough day. Oh man, the guy like, all right, let's go get some wings at the sports bar.
Right.
And boom, that'll cure. Right. You know what I'm saying? That kind of.
But that ain't dealing with the real situation, because you may be really dealing with something a lot heavier.
Like, man, let's go to the gym, man. You got, come on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We always kind of dismiss it as men, and I think that needs to change. And stuff like this, and conversation like this, and I hope men are listening to this along with ladies. I know a lot of ladies will listen. A lot of ladies want to hear from you. But at the same time, I think as men, we need to be able to be more communicable about, how we feel about stuff. I think, that's starting to, disparaging that is starting to subside. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, I completely agree with you. And I think, there were certain points in time where I was looking at the show and I'm like, damn, Edwin, like, why did you say this? And why did you do this? Like, I'm literally critiquing myself. You shouldn't have said this. You shouldn't have did this. Probably should have kissed Joy. But you know what I mean? When you start questioning all this type of stuff. But I had the question posed to me today, do you have any regrets about anything that you did on the show? And my answer was no. I don't live in regrets. I look at situations, whether it be good or bad, and I try to go back and assess that situation and say, how did it play a part into the development and growth of me as a man? Right? And so everything that happened on that show, whether it be the moments where I was kind of pulling back, or the moments where I felt like I was actively engaged, it all played a part into me being who I am as a person, a better person. Interaction with people. You used to come out of the room and used to talk.
Yeah.
Everything that certain people, like I think you shared a certain point with me, and people a lot of times they associated, the reason about me talking about therapy and this and that all came from joy. I said, well, it wasn't all joy. I said there were moments that I talked with Jake. Yeah. There were moments I was in the room chopping it up with him, and he shared a book with me. He actually gifted me with a book that he had just received from a friend of his, that had just written a book in regards to self-care. But it was joy, it was winter, it was you. So everybody played a significant role in my life in regards to the journey that I'm on right now in regards to self-care. So I can only say that to me it was God ordained.
Right.
You know, because who's to say that I would have met you? Like we had a connection, I think, after we talked on the show. Like you knew my brother, you knew my nieces, this and that. But who's to say that we would have connected had we not been on the show? And we probably have been within the same spaces, because I think about, you know, those times when he used to perform back in the day, you know, doing live music, but I don't recall ever bumping into you. So I think it happened the way that it happened, because, you know, I believe sometimes, you know, God is trying to get a message to us, and sometimes we may not be listening, so he brings people on our path to be able to speak to us. I believe that you played a major part.
That's what's up, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. So let's go ahead and shout out your bro. Some
people
might know who your brother is.
So for those that don't know, Anzio David, you know, he's a musician, but he's out in South Carolina right now, you know, working for
Pastor Grace.
Yeah, for Pastor Grace, for John Grace Ministry right now, in their media department. But you know, he was on American Idol back in the day. Making a band when they did Day 26 and all that type of stuff. So
that's what's up.
That's my dude.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So if you're watching at home, you're just not joining us, I've got Edwin Henderson with me, my castmate from Ready to Love. We're at Sleep Chocolatier. Right? It's stuck in my head. We're at Sleep Chocolatier here in Houston, 5868 Westheimer Road. Now, if you're making comments, we're going to try to get to those comments and answer some of your questions. But I definitely recommend that you email us at agesandstagespc@gmail.com, and we'll try to get to your questions and we'll answer those as well. Because when they're coming on live, they're coming in a little quick. I want to try to get to y'all, but it's best that you go ahead and email those. All right. So let's get into some of these questions. Some of the ladies want to hear from you, and we'll chop it up. And, we won't be too much of a hot seat.
All right. Like I told Simone when she started giving me those 21 questions. I'll see if I can answer them.
Right. Exactly. All right. So let's do it. Let's go. All right. So this one is from Janice. At what point do men and women stop entertaining others and focus on one person? Not necessarily committed, but when do they stop entertaining others and focus on one person? I guess we can go fair to that.
Yeah, sure.
Go with that.
So I would say, you know, it depends upon the dynamic of that you know, relationship or that friendship or whatever's going on. I think, you know, when you think about, you know, two individuals that are really feeling each other, but they may still be open to dating other people. I think there's a lot of times we know as men or whatever, that becomes a point in time where we first of all look at the situation and say, hey, can we see this person in our lives long term?
Yeah.
But in the dating game or the dating, you know, stages of things, it becomes that moment where I think sometimes it's almost like a light bulb just goes off, and it's just like, man, I really am vibing with the person. I don't want to deal with nobody else. I think it's just and sometimes it happens at different moments. Most of the time, I think it happens first with women before it happens with us. But I think it's just one of those internal things where we just have to stop and say, okay, is this somebody that I value, that I want to be able to invest more of my time in? Because we already know as men, it's already hard to really be able to juggle dating this person, dating this person, dating this person. So we want to put our hearts and our affections in on that one person.
Yeah, no, I agree. I might have said this on the show or talking. I don't know if they showed it, but I have a hard time trying to juggle like multiple, like that's never really been me. You know, that's difficult. But to that question, to you, I think it needs to be something organic. It can't be a timetable. It can't happen right then. But you do get kind of a light bulb. And I remember when I was dating my ex-wife, it was just like, I woke up and it was like, okay, let me delete every female in my phone. It was just, she didn't put pressure on me. It was nothing to that effect. It was just my timing was my timing. And then people, I will say this, a lot of guys, especially would always ask, man, they look at the relationship I had or have, and they say, man, you do this, that, and the third, man, I want to be like you. Or, you know, we always have these relationship goals. Everybody's timing is not everybody's timing. Like, it doesn't matter how old you are. You can be 25. Your timing can be better than a 45-year-old, or vice versa. So to that, I think when it's got to be organic, you can't put any pressure on that man or woman to ask those questions. Because when you ask those questions, well, who are you still talking to? Or are you still entertaining other people? I think that almost puts a guy or a girl in a defense mechanism. And then it's almost like as a little kid, right? You tell a kid, don't go stick that in that light socket. What they're gonna do it, right? So it's one of those things. You just gotta let it happen organically, and then I think you'll know And then for the most part, at the end of the day, I think both parties need to be open and transparent.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, being open and transparent.
100%. All right, cool. Hope we answered that one. Let's go to the next one. This one's from Marsha.
Marsha.
Okay. Oh, this one's for me. I never heard you discredit or say anything negative about Adriana. She appears hurt. How much time was between taping and taping of the reunion? Okay, that's a good question. So to your question, first and foremost, we ended filming the end of September, right? For those that went to the end, right?
Mid-September.
Mid-September, right? So we filmed the reunion in the first part of December, right? So that time had passed. So me and Adriana had conversations. Obviously, I knew about the unfortunate circumstances behind what happened with Hurricane Fanny, and we did talk about those things. And prior to the reunion, I think she shared this, so I'm not sharing anything G14 classified, but she shared this on some of her, I think that's what you're referring to, on some of her interviews and things of that nature, that we did speak before the reunion. Yeah. And she was concerned about the narrative, which we all read, and we knew what was leading up to, right? And she was concerned about, and then the bombshell of the California, right? And what I told her, just to confide in her, because I really care about her, she's a great person. I will never have anything negative to say about her, because she doesn't deserve that. Yeah. And then when I tell people, how could I say anything negative about someone I care about? Right. Then that attacks my character, right? But at the same time, we talked, and I said, you know what? It is unfortunate, but what you do is you own that. You chose with your heart the right person. Yeah. Right? It is not, you didn't have anything to do with the result from that, right? And then, like I said, I got your back 100%. I value you, and you're going to be fine, okay? But then when I go on, I was asked about what happened between her and I. Yeah. And I said, the name of the show, I felt that we're at different ages and stages of life, right? By saying that, and I've said this ad nauseum, but by saying that, it wasn't attacked at her age or her maturity, right? I had been married 2 years, she had not. We had talked about those things on what motivates us and what marriage looked like to us going forward. So I was already starting to see some level of discord there. So to her, from me talking to her, it's not what I'm guessing, it's what she told me, that she felt that it was attacking me. And we talked after that. But I did reach out to her after the reunion because I saw how much discomfort and pain she was in through the whole circle. So I called to check on her, right? Because I would have been like, I saw, and I said that on the reunion. Like I told Tommy, I feel for her because I can see the pain in her. And she's a great person. So anyway, long story short, we shared that, and I told her that was never my intent. So now, as far as she feels now, I can't. You would have to ask her that. But I love Adriana to death. She's a great person, and I wish her nothing but the best, and I root her on, and I have nothing negative to say about her. She's a great person. So I hope that answered your question. All right, moving on. Okay, this is from Alicia. What is this is for you, Edwin. Best advice for singles to meet somebody.
Best advice for singles to meet somebody. It depends. I honestly say that happens to be one of the things that you have to determine for yourself. Myself, I was on dating websites, swiping right, swiping left, all that. But I know that may not be for everybody, but it's because of my schedule. And because I'm not typically out in the scene where you could, at the lounges or at the bars or this and that nature. But I think it's just really dependent upon where you're at. Sometimes it can happen at the grocery store. True. So I think sometimes it's just being open to the opportunity of where it could potentially happen and not putting any kind of limit or cap to it. Because honestly, it could happen at church. I know a lot of times, with me especially, I sing on the praise and worship team at our church. Okay. So of course with me, I'm on stage. So
come on. So you're on stage. You propped up. You can scope the whole congregation out, right?
I can, but I'm gonna tell you, my personal issue with that is that I always felt some kind of way because people would say, "Man, it's a lot." And like my church has a lot of gorgeous women. Yeah. But I never saw myself getting out the church after worship, having a moment with God. Like, girl, I saw you from the stage and you was looking good. Right. That just don't seem right to me. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I personally wouldn't do it. Now, maybe if I was just a regular, person that's in the congregation, maybe differently, but I don't want anybody to feel like I'm using
that
my platform to be on the stage
for sure.
trying to holler at you. It
Platform
comes off
literally
platform literally, yeah. Because it can go the wrong way because if the relationship don't work or the dating don't work, you still gonna see me on the stage. I'm gonna look at you, you gonna look at me, and God gonna be like, okay, you need to turn your head the other way.
And she gonna be like, he's singing that song and he ain't no parts in that song.
Exactly. So I just try to alleviate that, but I try to open myself up to other opportunities, man. And I think for anybody else, you just got to be open to where you feel you're most comfortable to be able to do so.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I will piggyback off the church thing. Me being just in the normal congregation, it was always weird for me. I had never ever done it. And there's a bunch of beautiful women at church. So I'm not saying that's not a good place. If you got the confidence to do that, do it. I never had the confidence to do it.
Don't walk up and say, hey, God told me to lay hands on you. That ain't going to go.
Don't do that. Don't do that. You got it. No. But at the same time, I was always kind of nervous and hesitant to do that. So, okay. And there's a follow-up question to that same question. How do you prevent old relationship mistakes or patterns from happening again in a new relationship? I'm assuming.
So to prevent old relationship mistakes from happening in a new relationship, you have to first identify what those mistakes were.
Yeah.
And I think you just have to be proactive. I think it's one of those things that sometimes old mistakes sometimes try to creep their way back in.
Yeah.
And it happens.
Yeah.
And so you literally have to get to a point of being more intentional about how you maneuver in that new relationship. Because you can fall victim to just, coasting along, and then the next thing you know, you're creeping and doing the same thing that you were doing before. Yeah. It's being more intentional, I think. You have to be more intentional to say, did you realize or whatever that impatience was something that you dealt with from a previous relationship? Well, patience is something I think that you constantly have to work on a daily basis. Or if you were the kind of person that, would say stuff flippantly and just run off at the mouth, that you have to now tell yourself, okay, when I go into this new dating relationship, or if I go into this committed relationship, I need to stop and think, or come up with a game plan about how I'm going to prevent it from happening. If you don't have a game plan, then I think you've already kind of defeated the purpose, because you're going to probably automatically.
Right. Yeah. I agree, and I kind of talk about, and I talk about just doing the work.
Yeah.
It's an old saying when I used to coach. A lot of people know that I used to be a head high school basketball coach, coached in college, and when I would when we'd work with the big guys in the post, it's a saying in coaching: do your work early. Mm-hmm. Do your work early before you get a defender on you. Right? Before, get to your spot, get there early, and then you'll already be there. So doing your work. Do your work. Know your mistakes. Acknowledge those mistakes. Accept it. We're all not perfect sculptures at the end of the day. I've done the work through counseling. I still have a lot of work left to do, and I think we all are unfinished canvases. But know what it takes to try to acknowledge it, because that's the most problems in most things that we do. We always have to acknowledge it first. We have to look in the mirror, right? Accept it, acknowledge it, work on it, and then don't let it, because sometimes it'll be in the back of your mind, like, oh, I'm about to do it again. But no, you let it in your subconscious. You have to work very, very hard to move that out. And then some of those mistakes are going to rear their head. But if they do happen, acknowledge that to the person you're dating. You know what? I made this mistake. I used to do that. I apologize. I'm going to still work on that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I think that's something important for you to do. So that's a great question, Alicia. All right, next one. This is from Lisa. This is for you, Edwin. Edwin told Joy before leaving that he would seek counseling when he got back to Houston. Have you done so yet?
So I'm going to be honest with you and say that I actually have not.
Okay.
I've actually sought out a few different ones, and so right now, honestly, it's still been the journey of finding the right person.
Right.
I don't think that every counselor or every therapist is going to be the right person. But at the same time, I also allowed myself to kind of get sucked back into the workflow of things. Yeah. And so I checked myself on that a few weeks ago, because the self-care part, I told myself, it's like, look, dude, if you don't put it in your calendar to schedule a massage, schedule to go do this, schedule to go do that, you will never get it done. And so I had to be very intentional, even in regards to the therapy side of things. It's like, dude, you have to be intentional. There were conversations that, that were shared, at the breakfast table, even in regards to, my father and reconnecting with him. Yeah. And I told myself, like, dude, have you actually did what you say you want to do? Like, when you're there, the energy was right, and everything was great. And then when I got back home, I allowed myself to get back into the flow of work. And then I found myself each day like, okay, I'll do it here, I'll do it here. And again, you have to go back and tell yourself, okay, well, there's a reason why this conversation came up. Same reason why I said, you and I connected and everybody else. I think there was an intention that God wanted me to be able to do certain things, and I have to honor and respect that. So, like literally, like last week, it became one of those things like, dude, make sure that you do what you say you're going to do, right? And that's where I'm at right now.
Well, good, man. As a brother, I'm gonna hold you to it,
Yeah,
man.
sure.
I want to see you grow,
Yeah.
and just have whatever God got for you. And I remember some people didn't see this. We talked about this earlier. I remember Edwin day one.
Yeah.
And Edwin leaving.
Yeah.
Man, you did some work there, bro.
Yeah.
And you came, man. I was not to be condescending,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I was proud of you.
Yeah.
Like no cap.
Yeah.
As the kids say, no cap.
I'm gonna tell you this. I had to Google that at one point.
Right.
When they started saying it, I'm like, hold on, what does no cap mean?
Yeah.
I'm over here Googling no cap.
Right.
Okay, that's what it means.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of you on that. Let me ask you this though: as far as the counseling is concerned, is there someone who's there for veterans with PTSD? Is that a specialized field, or just a general type of counselor or therapist can?
So I'm going to tell you like this. So based off of what we all saw on the show, everybody was looking at it like, oh, he needs therapy in regards to PTSD.
Okay.
I'll be straight up and honest with you. I'm going to have PTSD for the rest of my life unless I lose my memory. Unless all of a sudden I get Alzheimer's and I don't remember anything that happened in Iraq. So I've shared with people that I've learned how to control that.
Yeah.
Me talking about therapy didn't have anything to do in relation to PTSD.
Okay, good.
Me having to take therapy had to do with, it's kind of like when you talked about once you got a divorce, you went and got therapy.
Yeah.
Because that was an area that you needed to be able to kind of heal from, whatever it may be. With me personally, I could say as a man that therapy is needed because I wanted to be able to take care of my overall mental health.
Yeah.
Nothing in regard, of course PTSD may pop up and that topic may happen, but I personally feel like my therapy happened to be serving the community, going to do this stuff with the homeless, getting other veterans off of the couch.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of other veterans that are in worse off situations than I am. Like I identified that I didn't like being in a crowded environment. So what I would do was, my therapy happened to be, let me go out with another veteran that's a good friend of mine. A lot of us, first of all, a lot of men don't like their backs being turned anyway. But as a veteran, we definitely don't like our backs being turned. So we would intentionally go to a restaurant. I would sit with my back turned, and he would sit on the other side, and we refer to each other as battles. Battle buddy and snap. So he's like, battle, I got you.
Okay.
Until I got comfortable, and then we would meet once the next day. And then we would reverse it, and he would sit on the side. So that's therapeutic in itself.
Yeah.
I didn't sit down with therapists all the time, but I sat down and we did the work as veterans, identifying where we were at. My thing now is, there's so many different things that, from my father to relationship with my mother, or just things that I may just want to be able to put out there to be able to bring healing that I may not even identify that's still there. And that's why I want to do it. Because I heard so many of you all talk about it that it resonated with me to the point like, dude, this is not just about, oh, do you got an issue? Even if you don't think that you have an issue, it may be a good idea just to go sit down with a therapist to be able to unload some things that you may not have ever identified that you ever had.
100%. I don't think there's not one perfect person walking this earth. We all have something that we can work through, discuss, and talk about. But you said something right there, man, with the back to the door. Man, I don't know if I can do that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and the thing that you've done, because as men, we're taught, especially when the lady, sit to the door so you can see what's happening to protect her.
Correct.
If somebody comes in. So if I had to do that same exercise, I'd be nervous as hell.
I'm telling you, it took time. It
Right.
literally took time. And we used to always meet at, I don't know if you're familiar with the spot in Midtown Harry's, a little breakfast spot. We used to sit there all the time. And it was one of those things where, like, when he would do it, he was very nervous. I mean, of course, we all still turned around, but it was like, dude, don't turn around. Sit there and allow yourself to enjoy your breakfast. I got you.
Yeah,
the same way that if I sit down,
like falling back.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's that trust issue.
Yeah,
It's trust in the fact that the person is going to be there in the event that something is going to happen. But to say moving forward, when I do go out on a date with the young lady, of course, I still sit. I don't want my back to, I still do that because when I walk in, I still assess the place. I still find out where the exit is at, just in case something pops off. I'm still aware of it because I want her to know, hey, if anything happen, I got you.
That's what's up.
When I'm walking along the street, she's on the
She's
inside.
on the outside,
and making sure she's protected.
Away from the
away from the traffic. So that's kind
good,
of how I roll.
good brothers here. We was raised like that. We're gonna watch the door and keep you away from the cars. All right, let's move on. All right, this one's from Tiffany. Okay, this one's for me, Rashid. How do you really feel about being eliminated? I felt that it was a genuine elimination. Right? Adrian was coming from a genuine place. And I noticed that. And that's when I told her, hey, listen, it's okay. Because she was nervous about telling me. And I know she liked me, but she had stronger, more attraction to her body. And I'm okay with that. So I was perfectly fine with it. No, like, yeah, you're disappointed. Nobody wants to lose. But I don't want to win the game just for the sake of winning the game. You know what I'm saying? Because if that was the case, a week or two later, we might have not even made it past that. So, to your question, no, I felt like I said before, I felt okay with it. I kind of had an idea, I had an intuition, and I told her, hey, go with your heart. It's cool. I'll see you back in Houston. I'm gonna root you on. Nothing but the best. I know her mom. Her mom is dope. And her dad, I met in that time. So I didn't feel any type of way, especially no anger or resentment at all. I just felt, at the end of the day, I'm a competitor. I went in, I put all my cards on the table, but I still don't know anybody that's undefeated.
Yeah, exactly.
Tom Brady's gone to 10 Super Bowls, but he's won 7. He lost 3 of them, right? So, and he's okay with that. He's just going to come back the next time and try to win. So, to your question, I just felt that it was understandable, and I understood and I accepted it. So, next question. This is from June. Yeah, June. Your month's coming up. I hope we back out by June. Hey.
Hope we can take our mask off and live freely.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay, June. Edwin, why do you think you've never been married? And then there's a question for me after you ask.
So I would say I think I've never been married because there was a certain point in time where I think honestly I missed out on a lot of great women that came across my path because of the fact that I may have been too nitpicky about certain things. Maybe the woman was great for me, but then I started finding things that were wrong that ultimately would cause me to put up. And that's honest. I noticed that would happen a lot of times. I would have women say, everything was great, and then all of a sudden you kind of put up a wall. And then I started noticing that wall that I was putting up was me identifying something that was wrong with her, not in a bad way, but it was more of the thing of, okay, it couldn't be this perfect. It couldn't be this. So I was literally self-sabotaging myself. So, and I honestly, at one point in time, years ago, I sent a message, several different people, just like, hey, you know what, I apologize, for the way that I was at certain points in time, because I realized that you were pouring your heart out to me. And of course, I was connected with you, but then at a certain point, I stopped emotionally. It's kind of like, I think, at one point in time, Naya even shared on the show, she said, I don't have time for unemotionally available men. Yeah. And I get it. At a certain point in time, you get tired of dealing with people that aren't willing to be able to tap in with you and to really connect. And that's who I was at that particular time. And so that was the identification.
Right. Well, let me ask you this. Yeah. So now knowing that, do you see marriage in the future for you? Do you look forward to marriage?
Yeah.
Is that something you want?
It is.
Just kind of tell me how do you feel now going forward. And the ladies, I know the ladies want to know as well.
So, there's not a ring on my finger right now, but I'm going to tell you straight up, I am. I believe marriage is a good thing. And I grew up in the church, and I grew up listening to, messages about the benefits of marriage and how it's not self-serving, that it's about how I can give to the other person and vice versa. And I honestly believe that it's just something special about, joining in union with a woman, because a woman, honestly, she can accentuate, she can elevate, she can do things that we think that we can do on our own, that when you connect with, it's like, man, you really took this to a whole other level. And so a part of me wants to be able to have it, to be able to experience going home with somebody, to be able to travel with somebody, to be able to have somebody that when I come home from a long day, that I can just, lay my head in her bosom and just relax. Or she can do the same thing.
Did you hear this? He said, lay his head on her bosom.
Lay your head on
bars. On the bosom. Okay, I see it.
On the bosom.
I'm feeling that one. If you heard it, it came from me. I'm gonna give you your quotes. All right. Sorry to cut you off.
It's all good. But that's exactly what it is, man. I think, I think God created marriage to be a very beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And I think that, especially like as well as I do, even though I haven't been married, is that it requires a lot of work to go in there. So when you think about marriage, people think about the idea of marriage sometimes. So at one point in time, I was engaged.
100%. Yeah.
But I think that the person I was engaged
you weren't engaged?
I was engaged. I was engaged.
Okay.
And I honestly broke it off. And I'm going to tell you why I broke the engagement off. Because I identified that if we got married, I started thinking about divorce long before we got to the marriage. And I said, if I'm thinking about divorce, I said, I need to make the wiser decision for me to make sure, I'm going to remove myself from the situation, before I get a divorce, because I think a lot of times, like in the military, the divorce rate is sky high.
Oh, I'm sure.
And so people get married on the whim because they're all emotional, they're getting ready to deploy. Oh, let's get married. Oh, we can get this extra check or whatever while we deploy, but they're not willing to put in the work. And so my biggest thing is that prior to going into marriage, I firmly believed in marriage counseling. I firmly believed in a lot of stuff that I was hearing as a teenager about us putting in the work. And at the time, my fiance didn't think the same way. And when I started emerging, I realized it was the idea of marriage that she was enamored with, more than putting in the work for that marriage. And I said, you know what? I got to remove myself from this, because I said, if not, I said either I'm going to be stressed out, pissed off, or either I'm going to get a divorce. And I said, I would rather not live unhappy in this situation and just separate myself from it than go into it thinking that it's going to work, because it's probably not. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Two things you said there. So in the military, you said there's a lot of emotion involved. People are maybe rushing to get married. Do you think that same counter emotion are the reason people get divorced?
Oh yeah.
In that same,
I think people, honestly, a lot of people go into marriages automatically with the mindset, oh, you know what, if it don't work, I can jump out. And my thing is that I want to be able to get married to somebody and say that I'm married to that person for life. Of course, I know some things happen where you may have to get a divorce, but I don't want to go into it with the option of saying, okay, divorce is an option. I want to go into it saying, this person is somebody that is for me, that I'm for her, that we, situations arise, that it won't be, oh, let me just get up and run out and go stay at mom and daddy's house. Let's sit down and talk about it and work it out. Let's not go to sleep mad. Going to sleep mad and upset is only going to cause you to wake up mad and upset.
Yeah,
and who's to say that you're going to wake up the next morning?
Yeah.
I've always been a person that I'm big on being able to say, you know what, I'm sorry, I apologize, let's talk about it. Now, my biggest issue is the fact that a lot of times I wouldn't give the woman the space to be able to decompress, that I would want to talk about it right then. Because that's just how I was, and I told myself that when you got to chill on that, because every woman doesn't want to talk about it the moment that you want to talk about it.
For
Sometimes you got to step away and vice versa.
That's why it's a couple, it's a relationship.
Yeah.
We're all different people, especially men are from Mars, women from Venus. So we have different things that motivate us. But to that, you said, as far as the woman that you were with was more infatuated with the idea of marriage.
Yeah.
And I will say this to you, ladies, as I've gotten older, well, I was married for a long time, but now that I'm dating and meeting women around my same age who haven't been married, or maybe have married and looking for that now, I do sometimes see that. Because we can kind of feel that sometimes, like, you're more so infatuated with the idea, or the idea of me as your husband, and what that looks like, and what a marriage looks like. So we do feel that, but I think some men do that sometimes too.
Oh, men do it a lot.
Yeah. We have our little biological clocks going on.
They want to put a woman on lock a lot of times. It's like, let me lock you down. And it's like,
so that's not always women. I see that from guys as well. I'm just speaking from my perspective. So with that being said, as far as the idea of marriage and you deciding that you want to be married, but you don't want to go into it with divorce in mind.
Right.
You own a business.
Right.
Okay? Chefs in the City. Chefs in the City, y'all. Chefs in the City. And you heard a story. You used to watch a whole lot of Sex in the City.
I used to watch Sex in the City when I was in Iraq.
I remember that. So that was a dope idea.
Yeah.
With that being said, you have a son, you have a business. If you were to get married, do you believe in prenup or not? And I'm going to say this because sometimes men or women hear that word and they think you're already thinking about divorce.
Yeah.
So I'm piggybacking off of you going into it never thinking about divorce. Some people may think a prenup means you're thinking about divorce.
Yeah.
Tell me how you feel about a prenup, and do you think that is thinking about divorce, or is that just protection for both
I wouldn't say that it's necessarily thinking about divorce. But me personally, I'm just like, you know what? If I'm going into it with my fiance, let's just go. Me personally, I just want to just go into it, without all that. Because sometimes it can put that seed of doubt in your mind, like, okay, she's already thinking if anything, ends or we split, that she want to make sure that she has what she. I'm not in this to take anything from anybody.
Right.
I'm in this to make an investment.
Yeah.
So if we go into this where we're saying that we're investing in one another, we're feeding into one another, and I'm here to be able to, be that foundation and support for you, then I don't want to go into it saying, okay, well, I'm trying to protect anything. Because honestly, if I'm going into it, what's mine is yours.
Right.
So if my business grows and it booms, that's yours, boo, because we're going to make sure that you live in that life and vice versa. If things are going well with your business, I think the same thing. I think it's just it's about being unified. But I honestly say to each their own. And it's depending upon the individuals that are in there. Some individuals may feel a prenup is needed because some people probably got a hell of a lot more money than I do. Like I got a few coins, but me personally, I'm like, you know, at the end of the day, you know what?
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
No, but you're right. Like I said, you gotta have those tough conversations early, and see what that person thinks about it. You just never know. Just have the conversation. Have the conversation. All right, guys, we got about 10 minutes left. We got a few more questions to get to. I got Edwin here, my castmate from Ready to Love. We're at Sleep Chocolatier here in Houston. We'll be back next Monday. Check us out every Monday. We'll be right here from 8 to 9. So let's ask some more questions. Oh, my question to me, Rashid, will you get married again? Yes, I will get married again. I'm definitely open to it. I say this all the time. I love marriage. I like being married. I feel I was my best as a married man. But I'm not going to rush it. It's going to happen organically. But I think marriage is a great thing. Like you said, it's a team of two coming together saying, hey, we're going to go run this play together.
Yeah.
And sometimes the play doesn't always get ran the right way. Mm-hmm. But again, you have to know that going in and do the work early, premarital counseling, and know that it is a tough road, but it can and will work if you put in the work. Now, I'm divorced, so obviously mine didn't work out the way I intended it to. But I say this all the time: we had way better years than we had last year. You know what I'm saying? So yes, to answer your question. All right, moving on. This is from Alex. Ooh, what are men really saying when they say they need space? What are we really saying? If we're speaking in code, what are we really?
You know, I'll be straight up with you. When a man's saying he really needs space, he's probably looking for that opportunity to be able to go back out there and dribble dabble. He's probably not interested in it. Honestly, not me to be straight up.
Right.
Now there may be
that's
some
good.
men.
That's what ladies. That's what you want to hear. Straight
you know,
up.
there may be some men that say, "Hey, I genuinely need space for the sake of feeding myself, taking care of, reassessing the situation." But sometimes I think a man just doesn't want to hurt the feelings of another woman, and so that's the subtle way of throwing it.
It's hard for us. It is hard for us to hurt a woman. We sometimes guys. I can speak for myself and buddy. We would rather get broken up with.
Exactly.
Like we just don't want that because we're used to kind of that rejection.
Yeah.
I lost my train of thought. But with that being said,
talking about you just put me off now.
Yeah, I think. Hey, we're being real.
Oh,
Let me go back to the question because I had a good one. Oh, I think when a man says that, it could be the different age and stage he's in because maybe he's coming out of something.
Yeah.
Maybe he really likes you, but he needs to take care of some other things. Maybe he needs to get his child situated. Maybe he needs to finish up with his finance. Maybe he took a big hit in a divorce, or maybe things of that nature. So, to your point, a lot of times he's just not really that into you. He wants to play the field. Or he's just really got some other things that he needs to take care of, and he doesn't want to be responsible for someone else's feelings right now. So he'd rather tell you that than for you, the guys, to get into something, and then it blows up, and he's the scum of the earth. So, from both perspectives, I think both of those can be true. All right, Olivia, why do you think men can't commit? Ooh, there's some men out there that can commit.
You know,
to your question,
I would say you can't generalize every man because I believe it's kind of like that whole saying or whatever. Like, why do all men cheat? Every man doesn't cheat.
Right. I
think at some point in time, in younger years or whatever, there are men that do it. But it's all again dependent upon the individual. Sometimes men get into that habit of just dating multiple women, and that just becomes a thing that happens all the way into their later years, and they're never able to break that habit. But I think for the ones that really are at a point of saying, I'm ready to settle down, I'm ready to, bring upon, this person into my personal space and just commit, I think he'll make that decision. When a man is ready to commit, he's ready to commit at the end of the day.
It's like I said, I woke up one morning and was like, yo, it's time to spring clean in my phone. I'm ready. Boom. And it's nothing like, so there is a man out there committed. It's going to be on his own time. And I remember there's nothing like just having my phone out wide open, just sitting there. That is such a relaxing feeling. But it was on me, not anybody else's time. And I talked about it earlier. Everybody's time is not the same. All right, we're going to wrap up here pretty soon. So I got some really good questions that we're going to get to. We're going to speed round real quick. All right, this is from a guy. This is from Todd. Is going Dutch a detriment when dating or on a first date? We should ask a woman that, but what do you think about Going Dutch.
So
I
going
know
Dutch.
this is gonna be a
I honestly,
we need Naya in on this one. I'm just joking. Now, you know I love you.
You know we're gonna fill in the gaps, Naya. But I would say going Dutch, man. It just depends. Like I've been in a situation with a woman where she actually said, "Hey, this is what we're doing. This is the reason why I'm doing it." It took me by surprise because I've always been accustomed to paying. But I don't think it's a detriment to that situation. I think to some women it may be. It's like, oh, so you're not gonna pay for this? I honestly couldn't put myself in a position where I said that to a woman because I always felt like if I go out with somebody, let me take care of them. But I've had moments where I've had women say, oh, well, I'm going to take care of this, and I'm still trying to take care of the bill, and they're like, no, let me take care of it. So it just depends. Yeah, no, I agree. Same thing. I've always been taught I'm gonna take care of it. I'm gonna pay for it. Yeah. But you have some of those that really insist. And when I was brought up, Dutch was something you did when you were a teenager. You were going when my dad was dropping if mom was dropping us off, your mom was picking us up. If we're going to Astroworld, if we're going to have my dad used to say, buy a Coca-Cola and a Hershey. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You can go Dutch with something like that. But now, for the most part, I think, we're grown men. I'm over 40 years old. So it's never my intention to go Dutch. But if you insist, insist, it's got to be strong, then, I'll let you. But ladies, I'm going to tell y'all this. Be very, very honest, because I had a bad situation happen where a young lady wanted to be able to take care of something when we went out to the movies. I allowed her to take care of it, and later on, it backfired. Like, oh, well, you should have said this. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I tried to allow myself to be able to open up to allow you to pay for it, but now it backfired in my face because I should have said no. I'm trying to allow myself to be open to something different, and now you just got on my case. And then, like, I've had someone do that before, but I just had a feeling. I went up and got to the bathroom and caught the dude. It was like, here you go. Okay, so we're about to wrap up. If we go a little bit longer, it's on me because I got to work on my time management. This is our first one. But next one is, have you guys found love? Have you found love yet? I have not. I have not. I can say that right now I'm still, we're not that far removed from, the show ending. So I think it still right now requires a lot of time for me, honestly, to make that investment in myself. The biggest thing has been, honestly, making sure that I even get to that point of taking self-care because I haven't been. Yeah. I've been hustling and bustling. The influx of followers and the influx of business. It's kind of like when I was in the sheriff's department. They say get out there and take every call that you can, make a name for yourself by answering calls. So literally, I've just been out there doing my chef thing, but not still doing self-care the way that I should. So okay. I guess that question's for me as well. Not as of yet. I've kind of gotten back and, like you said, just jumped back into the job, working hard. It's difficult because I have a loving heart, and it's just time like for me to figure everything out. I need my life to slow down a little bit and really give my all to someone. Because I don't want to be halfway, because then at the end of the day, you're going to be able to tell I'm halfway. And then a big explosion is going to happen. Then I'm going to be the scum of the earth. And I don't want to do that. And tacos and cheese. Right. Another question real quick. Am I going to have women on the show? Yes, I'm definitely going to have some women on the show from a female's perspective. Just want to kind of start out and giving you kind of my guy here and another couple of guys to kind of give you how we think. But as we wrap up, let me see any more important stuff I really, really want to get to before we leave. No, we can weigh that from is there a time limit on when to become intimate? That all depends.
Last question of the night.
I think there's no time limit. I've heard people say that they got it in sometime on the first date. Now I personally feel like sometimes it's better when you have a better connection with the person and you know a little bit more about them. Yeah. I can't say that there's a time limit. I can't say some people do set time limits, but I think it's dependent upon the two parties involved. Right. And I don't think that's organic when you set time limits. But again, I hate to say the guys always come back with, we grown, right? We grown, right? That's kind of our little, but it's kind of true. Like it has to be a mutual vibe between one another. Because to your point, I've heard and met and know people who got it in the first night and they're happily married. Yeah. Like 15 plus years. Yeah. People that waited that got married and not together. So I think it's a vibe. Yeah. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. Hey. All right. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in. That's all the time we have for tonight.
And we're at our hour limit. I didn't want to go past an hour, but I'll definitely bring Edwin back on because I know y'all still want to hear from him, and this is my guy, so I'm sure I'm going to hold him to the fire. I know he's going to come back.
Sure.
Well, hey, tell us what you got going on before we leave. Shout out your Instagram and all that stuff. Tell everybody what you got coming up.
So for those that don't follow me right now, check me out on Chefs in the City 713 on IG. Right now, I currently have a lot of virtual cooking classes going on that I'm doing twice a month. So it's called I Love the Way You Brunch. If you need me as a private chef to come into your city, I definitely come out there, chef you up, sprinkle a little salt and pepper here and there. I'll be in Chicago at the end of February. I'll be in LA actually next week. So if you want me to come out there too, man, just let me know. Just don't put me in a hole-in-the-wall hotel. I'll make sure that you're taken care of, I promise you.
That's what's up. That's what's up. That's what's up. And as for me, if you don't follow me, my Instagram is Rashid_the Car God, GAWD. And I've got some great things coming up that you should be on the lookout for. My YouTube series, Car Gods, I am going to air the first episode of season 2 this Thursday at 8 p.m. I'm going to show tomorrow my last, because I was playing replays of the previous season. I'm going to show you my episode 10 from season 1. That's going to be tomorrow night at 8. That's going to be the last replay. That's featuring James Keith, the owner and founder of Keith and James.
Oh yeah.
We're talking about the hat. I got to get you
I got a good one, man.
I got to get you connected on that. And of course, my clothing line, a lot of you know about my clothing line, Nelson Barquet Clothing, NB_clothing, and that is on my main page, Car Guys. All my links are there. So you can find us there. And also on Thursday night, I'm going to kick off Valentine's Day weekend. I'm going to be in Atlanta with my guy, C. Cross, at Whiskey Mistress to kick off the Valentine's Day weekend. And the next night, I'm going to be with my guy, Jimmy Jones, Friday in Atlanta from season 2. And we're going to be at Azul Lounge, I believe. I'm going to post that flyer tomorrow. That's from 9 to 1 p.m. So I'm kicking it in the A-Town this weekend.
Oh yeah.
I'm in the A-Town this weekend, and we're going to be hanging out. So pull up on me if you can, and continue to support this brother. And I thank you guys for the support, and I thank you for letting us continue the conversation. And I want to shout out to Sleep Chocolatier for letting us host our podcast here. We're going to be here every Monday night. So if you want to come, we're going to have a live audience where you can ask questions here live. And then 8 to 9 every Monday. And also, guys and gals, you got a week left, or less than a week left till Thanksgiving. Till Valentine's Day. This is the place to come. They've got boxes of chocolate. They've got all kinds of treats and eats for you to take home to eat in the bed, watching a movie with some wine, the whole 9 yards. So shout it out. I'm going to show you guys on my IG Live. We show them, flip that around for them so y'all can see all the treats and eats that we've got at Sleep Chocolatier. I'm sorry if you can't see it at home on YouTube, but if you're on my live, you can see it. And that's about it, guys. We're going to continue the conversation on the Ages and Stages podcast. We talk about life, love, relationships, and all that other. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. One love. Thanks, man.
Appreciate you, man.
God.
Yes, sir.
And we out.
That was awesome, man.
That was good. That was good. He's still alive. Bro, that was good. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you.
Yes, my God.
Everybody, we're gonna kick it off.
It's like 35 people on there. It's got like 150.
Okay, cool.
So we gotta work.
Yeah. Okay. But then,
I wouldn't be this confident.
Sweating, bro. I'll be sweating. I'll be like, I put it all off.